This AI tool is promising to organize my inbox, draft my emails, and even go to my Zoom meetings for me. This tool is Fyxer, and it's an AI email assistant. And you may have never heard of it, but it's actually ranking number 7 in the top 50 AI apps startup are spending money on. Way ahead of other popular apps like Perplexity, Lovable, or Midjourney. So today we're going to test it together and see if it can help us get out of inbox hell. Okay, so quick overview of the tool. So the promise here is that you go ahead and connect your inbox. In my case, it's going to be Gmail, but you can do that with Outlook as well. And then it's going to use AI to organize it in different labels based on AI's understanding of the message and what it's about. So that's the first promise. Then it will also draft responses to your emails automatically. Now, the one upside that I see here, because obviously you can do that with Gemini directly inside of Gmails or just any other AI. But it says that it will train on your tone and just draft an answer that is going to be matching what you would usually answer to people. So that's the second promise. And then the last promise is going to be to follow up after your meetings. So essentially, it's going to act as an agent that will join the meeting, take notes, understand what's happening, and then automatically, as you can see, summarize and send a follow-up email if you wanted to the people that were in the meeting and with action points, key takeaways, and whatever. So obviously, this is something that other tools can do, but to have this all in one place is something that could be interesting. Obviously, we're going to try this out and see if it actually delivers on those promises. Okay, so now we're inside and we can see all of the categories that it's suggesting to sort all of our email into. So here we're just going to select everything, and then you can set up some different rules if you want, specific sort of emails to be into a specific category, and also just a frequency of when you wanted to draft email. So right now we're at very often. I'm just going to reduce that a little bit, and then another spectrum to determine which emails are marketing. Again, here I'm just going to increase the sensitivity so that we have something to look at. And let's just see how it does. Okay, so it's done its thing and it has just changed my inbox and started to categorize everything into those labels. Now, this inbox I use mostly to receive newsletters. Obviously, it's sort of the same type of email that I get. And I can see that it marked most of them as marketing, which is kind of what it is, the newsletter that I get. And then you have notifications and FYI, and most of it wasn't really categorized into anything, I suppose. So, it's interesting to see what it deems as something that needs to be categorized in one of those and what it doesn't. I suppose you have flexibility to sort of change that, but it will kind of do its thing. And there's not too much that you can change about that apart from those two filters here. But that's pretty much what you get after the whole categorizing. And so that was their first promise, is that they were just going to categorize everything and it's going to help me sort out, my inbox and sort of have clear understanding of what I need to respond to and what I don't. I'd say that it did a pretty mid job at that, as in, if that wouldn't really help me that much clear out my inbox. Again, there's not that many emails that I really need to answer to in this inbox, so not as relevant, but I wouldn't say that it really cleared out a lot here. The second feature and the second promise they had was that it was going to draft replies to my emails matching my tone. So this is the feature right here, and we can have a custom prompt to sort of, be more specific about the kind of responses that we want to have. And then some other settings here for the signatures and what the emails look like. And lastly, this follow-up feature, which I think is interesting, which is something that will follow up, will sort of track first how long to wait before an email is unanswered, and then automatically draft a follow-up email to be sent to that person. Now, obviously, these are all draft. You don't have to send them, but it's just sort of help you track and keep up with those kind of things. So let's see how it does with an example. Okay, and here is an example of a reply that is started to draft. And this was an inquiry for posting, guest posts on my website. And this answer is fine. So it kept the signature that I have natively in my inbox, and then it drafted the message. The formatting isn't perfect, but obviously I could easily change that myself. The actual message is fine. I wouldn't say it's really particularly my tone, but I suppose it take a bit of time to train on what I would answer. So this is totally fine. But now what I want to see is how this compares to the native Gemini replies that I would have natively in Gmail, because I wouldn't need Fyxer AI to do this for me if I can have it all natively inside of my Gmail. So let's see how it compares. Okay, and this is the answer that Gemini would have written for me without any extra tools, just something that comes as part of my Google Pro Gmail account. And, it's not worse. I mean, it's not worse in any shape or form. Obviously, I can also refine this a little bit. This isn't exactly what I would send, but the formatting is better. The message is just as good. And again, this comes natively and just work out of the box. Now, I don't know if Gemini really tries to train on my tone and what I have said in past emails to see what I would say here. Again, definitely this is not the kind of tone that I would use, so I assume it doesn't. So if Fyxer AI does that and actually trains on my tone and then can generate draft that really resembles what I would say, then I guess it could be better, but that's not what I've seen so far, and it's hard for me to really test in the long run. And that was the first two promises that they had, is that it's going to organize your inbox and then it's going to draft replies in your tone. Let's move on to the third promise, which is that it's going to, tech meetings for me, but essentially what it does is, it's going to join your meeting, your Zoom meeting, and it's going to take notes, and then it will be able to follow up via email to the people that were in the meeting. So obviously, I don't have time to, just have other people jump into a meeting with me. But what I'm going to do is to upload the audio for a meeting that I had and see how it works. Here we go, and it took the transcript of the call, and then it generated a summary based on all of this. So I would say it's a pretty good summary of the call, and it was just sort of a walkthrough of the Kajabi platform. So apparently what you can do is that you can select different summary style, or you can just create your own, which I think is pretty cool, something to send to people that were not in the meeting. Just to have a bit of recap of what happened. You can also chat with the transcript and ask questions for things that were said and that you can find easily. And then you can also create snippets, which is just really clips of the meeting apparently that you would just clip and then send to someone else, or just focus on that particular part of the meeting. And then if this was an actual meeting that you had, then you can also send the follow-up via email to the people present in the meeting. Again, for me, it was just an upload for a previous meeting, so it wasn't really a live meeting that the agent was able to join, but this is apparently what it would do. So that feature is pretty useful. There are tools that specialize in this, things like Fyxer AI or Otter AI that specialize in this, meeting, note-taking, follow-up kind of thing. Obviously, if you were using Fyxer AI for other things, like we've seen for the emails, then having all of this in one place is definitely something that you would want. So it doesn't do anything extra than those other tools, but it pretty much does the same job, and it's already included in Fyxer AI. And so those are things that you can change in the settings to send a meeting recap follow-up email either to everyone, only the internal team, yourself, or no one. And so those were the three big promises, and we'll do a bit of a recap at the end, but I see a couple other beta features that they have. One of them is to upload a file to just help Fyxer to learn more about you, your company, your style. And I think this is sort of a different way to have a custom prompt and custom instructions so that everything else is a bit better. They also have the chat feature, which is essentially, again, something that Gmail does directly. So if you go to Gmail, you have the Gemini thing right here, and you can sort of chat through your email, ask questions, what happened, with this client back in December, and you can sort of do the same thing. But again, it's trying to do what Gemini will do natively in Gmail. Only if you have the pro version. If you have the free version of Gmail, it's not going to do that. But if you have the pro version, you'll have pretty much all of those features directly in Gmail. So it's really up to you to see if it's that different and really that worth it to have a separate tool to handle all this. Okay, so it's time for the verdict, and let's recap the things that this Fyxer AI tool did well, what it didn't do so well, and where it could fit in your tech stack. First of all, I think the interface is pretty good and pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Some people don't like Gmail, it's kind of ugly and all over the place. So this would be, one reason to maybe switch over. If you want something a bit more sleek, a bit more organized, that would be one reason. The email categorization feature, I wasn't so convinced about. Again, it depends on the kind of emails that you get. If you really get, all sorts of email, then it might be useful. What I found is that it ignores a bunch of emails, and it kind of defeats the purpose of, organizing your inbox if it's going to ignore half of the email that come through. The draft replies I thought was pretty good, and I think if you spend some time to, add custom instructions, to upload some files, then it would definitely do a better job than a native Gemini, email composer. So I think that could be worth it. Also, it does it automatically, whereas if you use the Gemini inside of Gmail, it won't do it automatically for you. You'll have to sort of prompt it to have something. So that would be something that it has on top of Gemini. But honestly, it's not a massive difference, so it might not be worth it for you if you are already using Gmail Pro. And then the recording note-taking assistant is pretty good and does just as good as other dedicated app. So if you were not using any of those but wanted to use a new one, then that could be something to try out. Overall, I would say this might be a good fit for people that are not necessarily tech savvy, but they do get a lot of emails and they know that AI can help to sort of streamline the whole thing. And so they want want to start using those AI tools, but they don't necessarily like the one that they get out of the box in Gmail, but maybe they're stuck in Gmail because it's just where their business is doing everything. So they might want to have this separate tool, separate dashboard with everything a bit better and a bit more organized, and just a better interface than Gmail. And again, just trying to weave in those new AI tools in the tech stack they already have. Long term, I would say I'm a bit worried for Fyxer AI because I think that Gemini will eventually maybe have all of those features, if not more. I mean, you already see Zoom has its own note-taking AI bot. And things like Fireflies or Auto AIs are just not as relevant because you can already do that natively in Zoom. So I think maybe Fyxer will end up having the same fate, but for now it can still be something that's pretty lightweight and can fit in your tech stack if you see the value in those kind of things. Now, there are a bunch of other practical ways to implement AI in your tech stack, and if you want to learn more about that, then go ahead and watch this next video right here. Or if you just want to keep updated with new AI automations and new ways to implement it in your business, then go ahead and subscribe to my free newsletter. That's going to be in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.